Okay, hey, this is Paul Slackus, good Reverend Paul Slackus, I'm going to say, because I see the word spiritual here somewhere, and faith and love and destiny for everyone on a spiritual journey, God and love on route, depending where you're from, 80, the hidden mystery of human connectedness. And Dr. Post here, Stephen Post, hi, how are you?
I'm pretty good, Paul. How are you?
I'm good. Look, if you read something like I just read, why wouldn't you be feeling good? You have all about nice things. And so you're out at Stony Brook, what, the medical school or what
I'm
do
in
you
the
do?
medical school. I've been here for 12 years after 20 years at Case Western Med School.
Aha. And what kind of work do you do there?
I have been in Chicago, Ann Arbor, Case, Stony Brook, founding and directing programs that focus on medical humanism and communication, particularly empathic and compassionate communication, and other aspects of professional identity formation.
So does that mean a doctor's supposed to also be nice and really care about you besides pulling something out?
Yeah, that's right. Instead of treating you like a biological slab. And we actually have a nice reputation here. We just, this past year, won the National Alpha Omega Alpha Award for Professional Identity Formation and Compassionate Care, which is a national award from the most esteemed medical association in the country. So our graduates are doing well. They're getting invited to become chief residents at higher rates than other schools because they have that intangible quality of being kind.
All right. Well, it could be the water there in the Long Island Sound too, since you're not supposed to drink it.
Yeah, it could be. It could be.
So I have a buddy, who's doing the corporate communication. So actually, ironically enough, I know a bit about you because we're LinkedIn buddies, and actually, even when he was back in the on the Madison Avenue area or Sixth Avenue with Ketchum, I did 100 stories with him
Oh,
because
really?
Nicholas Scripetta always had wonderful people to speak with. And
Good.
when he got out there, he was very happy. And he sends me all this good news. I mean, your school is packed with good news. Congratulations.
Amen.
There you go. And I always say, hey, women, are you getting trouble, Stevie? So now, a story of faith, love, and destiny. So this is actually a book.
This
Yes?
is a book.
And the book is about these following things that I just read, or it has a few other things in it, I believe.
It's called God and Love on Route 80, which begins as soon as you get over the George Washington Bridge.
Aha.
Goes all the way out to San Francisco.
All
And
right.
it's how my whole life got started based on a dream I had as a 15-year-old.
Okay.
And it has just unfolded as it has. So I've been very blessed.
So is I'll be honest, I haven't read the book, but I've heard nice things about it. And actually, you got out of one of the testimonials in there is a gentleman I interviewed maybe at the beginning of my 20 plus years, Dr. Larry Dossi.
Larry wrote the foreword, the great Larry
Oh, did he
Dossi.
write the foreword?
He wrote the foreword.
I got to reach out to Uncle Larry because I love him. And
He's the
he taught
best.
me about, and I listen to him every day. I go out there and eat some dirt, and build my immune system, and say to myself, Slapkiss, you are becoming an integrative medicine superstar. And
Yeah, yeah. Well, I love Larry. Larry wrote a book called One Mind and another one called Premonition. And God and Love on Route 80 is about this premonitional dream I had that absolutely shaped my life, kept me from going to Swarthmore College, drove me out west for an episode on the Golden Gate Bridge. And that's where it begins. And it just carries on from there.
well, let's start just because that is kind of an ironic comment to say. An episode on the Golden Gate Bridge, which isn't really golden, but the point of the
No.
matter is that you had an episode there. Was it because it wasn't golden and you thought it was gold?
No. But nice try. In a nutshell, I went to a high school up in New Hampshire, a place called St. Paul's. It was all boys back in the day. And we did a lot of philosophizing and we did sacred studies. And one morning when I was 15, I had a dream, and it recurred 5 times over the next year. I would be waking up kind of betwixt and between sleep and wakefulness, and there was a road heading to the west. It was covered with cloud and moisture and fog. And as I walked to the west, I heard a little shuffling noise to my left, and I looked, and there was the face of a young man with dark blonde hair, dirty blonde hair, and he was about to jump off a ledge. And then a blue angel, and I didn't believe in angels, and I'm not sure I do now, but a blue angel appeared and said, "If you save him, you too shall live." And then the clouds disappeared, everything turned blue, and the dream was over. And I actually talked about this with my friends at St. Paul's, including people like Charlie Scribner. You'll remember Scribner's books, who was in my class, and Gary Trudeau, and all kinds of people. And I even went to Yale with my sacred studies teacher, Rod Wells, and I gave my talk about this dream to a group of Masters of Divinity students, about 15 of them, and it was on adolescent spirituality. So it was very, very interesting. And they asked me what the dream meant to me. And I said, well, everybody up there, they read Emerson's Oversoul, but I actually believe it. I believe in this idea of a non-local consciousness, a non-local mind. So fast forward, I get into Swarthmore, and that summer I'm going to tutor in the Bronx, but my mother and father are dead set against it. They refuse to let me do that. And they even say they won't cover my tuition at Swarthmore. So I said, well, all right, then what am I going to do? And my dad, who was the president, and you'll remember this, of W&J Sloan's furniture store on Fifth Avenue.
Yeah, wow. Will you believe that?
Henry A.V. Post. He said, I'll get you a job at Bill DeBono's lampshade factory. He was a cigar-smoking Italian guy who ran a big lampshade factory on Long Island. So what happened was I said, okay, very reluctantly, and I drove Dad's secondhand gray Mercedes 190, which had seen better days, for 2 weeks to the lampshade factory, and I cut cardboard on a line of people between two large Italian women. There was no air conditioning. It was the middle of the summer. Friday night, I said, you know what, that's it. So I got in the car, and with my copy of Siddhartha, I headed out to West Hampton Beach, where some of my St. Paul's buddies lived. And I told them about 11 at night, I said, you know what? I'm going to follow my dream. It's just an intuition. I'm going to follow my dream to the West, and I don't need to go to college. So I drove on the Sunrise Highway. I drove through the Midtown Tunnel. I drove over the George Washington Bridge, and I'd never been over it before. And there were 2 signs. One said 95 south, but I was going west. There was another sign that said Route 80 West. So I just drove that road, and I got to the middle of Pennsylvania near the Lewisburg exit. It's 5 a.m. And I'm thinking I'm going to turn around because I can restore my reputation. But unfortunately,
it's going to hang you.
Yeah, unfortunately, the generator broke down, and cars had generators back then. So the whole thing died, and I was able to get over on the right shoulder. Panicked. I didn't know what to do. There were no phones around. So I took out a piece of paper, and I wrote a little note to the Pennsylvania State Police, which is actually in the book.
Oh.
Please return this car to Henry A.V. Post, to the Pennsylvania, 44 Davison Lane East, West Islip, New York, from his son, Stephen, who no longer works in the lampshade factory. And with my classical guitar, I played a lot of Villalobos, $40, a little bit of clothing. I headed out, and I won't go into it, but I spent the summer in the Mission District of San Francisco with my cousin George, 2 tours of duty in the Green Beret in Vietnam. And I slept on his floor, and I drew a very bad draft birthday number. Now, all that summer, I was a member of the Nichiren Shosho Buddhist community, and they chant Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, and they had a temple on the corner of Market and Chenery Street where we lived. And I realized, even though I said to Swarthmore I wasn't going to college, I needed to go to college. I'd applied to Reed, but I turned him down. So I called the Reed people up and I said, hey, I really need a spot in your class. They said, okay, they understood. So early September, about 7 in the morning, we gather in front of the temple and I say goodbye. They give me a Gohon zone, which is a Japanese scroll full of symbols about one mind and one consciousness. And
Not cazones, but cazones. Yeah, I know
yeah,
what you
yeah,
mean.
yeah. Go on. And so I put it in my bag, in my pack, and I had to pay $50 for it, by the way. But they told me it would give me luck the rest of my life. So I took the Market Street bus. I walked across the Golden Gate Park. I walked up that red entranceway, and it was foggy. I couldn't see more than about 2 feet in front of my face.
Uh-huh.
On the left side, get to the middle of the bridge, and then I just hear this sort of scuffling sound, and I look to my left, and there I see a face. Was it the same face? I don't know, but it was, sort of a dirty blonde, long-haired guy, and he looks like he's about to jump off the bridge. He's on the left over the railing. So he caught me out of the corner of his eye, and I saw him, and I said, I truly hope you don't plan to jump. And then he freaked out, and he started screaming from Macbeth, life is empty nothingness. And I said, well, when you're out there on the ledge about to jump, that makes a lot of sense. It's more realistic than Memorial Hall at St. Paul's School in New Hampshire.
Right,
So
right.
we talked for a while, and I calmed him down. And I said, look, I want you to understand something. I think I may have somehow been guided here by a dream that I had 2 years ago, 3,000 miles away. This is why Larry Dossey wrote the foreword to the book. And I said, it's very peculiar, but let me tell you. So I told him about the dream. I told him about going to Yale Div. I told him about the argument with my parents, the car, leaving it on Route 80, thumbing my way out, and all of that. And he said, you're crazier than I am. You should be out here. And I said, well, but I'm not. Okay. So I said, I'll tell you what, I got a deal for you. This was a transactional thing. I said, hey, if you come on this side of the railing, I'm going to give you something that will make your life lucky forever. It'll turn it all around.
Wow.
I'm going to give you a Gajon zone. He didn't know. So what's a Gajon zone?
Yeah,
So I
yeah,
said,
yeah.
well, come over the railing and I'll show it to you. And he did. And I pulled it out of my backpack and I unscrolled it and I explained some of the symbols. And I said, look, I'll give this to you, but you have to do me a favor. You have to go to my cousin George's house at 4 Chenery Street. And I gave him a note. I gave Harry a note. I said, George, this is Harry. He's having a tough time, but I think you can help him. Please introduce him to the folks at the temple and see what you can do. And I gave Harry some money. I had about $50 because I've been playing classical guitar in Hispanic restaurants all summer. So I was actually pretty lucrative. And and I walked north on the bridge. He walked south. I waved goodbye, and it was a very cordial. He'd calmed down a lot. And then as I was walking north on the bridge, because I'm heading to Oregon, Reed is in Portland, Oregon. Suddenly, all the clouds, all the vapor, the fog, it just lifts, and there's a beautiful blue sky. And I somehow felt, maybe I was attributing this, but I'm not trying to be scientific, but I felt that somehow or another, that dream that I'd had was meaningful. And even though we're all sort of desperate meaning creating creatures, as the existentialists say, still, I felt that there was something about this that had to be. And that I had, somehow through all of this, I was in the right place at the right time as I was supposed to be 3,000 miles away. That's how it got started.
There's very few words like a man like me could say right after what all the stuff you just said.
Yeah, yeah.
And I can talk for hours. So
Yeah.
the thing here is the following in my mind. Is this in that book?
Oh yeah, it's in the book. Yeah. It's in the book. And Larry, who wrote One Mind, he wrote a beautiful foreword, and it's basically, Deepak Chopra. It's about non-local consciousness, but there are many Christians and Jews and who take that same view, that mind is more than just matter. I'm a biologist and a scientist, but I've never felt that mind was just derived from cells and tissue. There's something unique about mind. In the beginning was the word, mind before matter. And so that's my view of life. And it was confirmed. I felt that way at St. Paul's, and I wrote papers about it, but it was confirmed by my dream. And when I got up to read, so here it goes, there's 12 episodes. The second episode, it's late January. I'm up there. Jobs, by the way, was sleeping on my floor. And I'm in the coffee shop. And it's about 9 at night. Friday night, this guy comes bounding into the coffee shop, and he's all lit up. He's got a black leather jacket on, and he says, "My name's Andy, and I've got a brand new Harley Davidson Shovelhauser. It's the fastest bike in the world. Who wants to go for a ride?" And I, like a jerk, I said, "I'll go." So I went out there. Now, it doesn't snow in Portland, but it does rain a lot. And then sometimes it gets slushy and a little bit icy because it can get chilly. So I got on this motorcycle, and Andy, screaming into the wind, he took off. He hit 150 miles an hour in like a minute. He went through every red light, every stop sign. He went south on the Pacific Coast Highway for an hour, and I was crying. I was screaming. I said, "Let me off," because we were swerving in the slush. He hit 180. I thought I was dead. And then amazingly, he did this incredible U-turn over the midway, and he got me back, and he dropped me off exactly where he picked me up. So I staggered across the ravine to Ackerman Dormitory, where I lived, and where actually, Job slept on my floor at times when he needed a floor. Just as I walked through the door, there in the common room, just over the threshold, the payphone rang. Now, they had payphones back then. I never picked it up in my life because my parents, they couldn't find out anything about me. I was like totally in a different universe.
They're lucky. Go on.
Yeah, they were lucky. They were damn lucky. So the phone rings, and I felt pushed a little bit to pick it up. So actually, unlike me, I picked up the phone. I said, "Hello." Now remember, it's 11 at night, okay? Because I've been back and forth on the highway. "Hello," and it's my mother.
Right.
And she says, "Stevie, you're alive. I just woke up from this incredible dream, and I thought you were dead. I thought you were dead." And I was shaking and fearful. And I said, "Mom, I thought I was dead too." I explained to her what had happened. And at that point, she was sort of an Irish mystic. They had a 100-acre potato farm on Hedges Lane in Sagaponack behind Bridgehampton, and very Catholic family. Her father built that Catholic church in Southampton made out of the marble from the New York Library and all that stuff.
Yeah,
So she's
yeah.
very, very mystical. And we connected on this, and we thought, there's something about the love, supposedly, between a mother and even the most deviant son that transcends all time and all space and all place. And so she actually, it's in the book, she actually and I told her about the Blue Angel dream, and I actually have in the book a copy of the painting that she made. She was an abstract expressionist of some note, and it's called the Blue Angel Dream. So then it just goes on from there, and I wind up. Eventually I quit immunology. I was a doctoral student at Penn, and I decided I want to go to the University of Chicago Divinity School, and I studied with Mircea Eliade, Joseph Campbell, and all these incredible people because I was interested in consciousness and world religions. Although I'm an Episcopalian, but I have these interests. I was in sort of that Alan Watts world, if you will. So that's it. And I've had a great career. And I decided at some point, I'm going to tell this story because I usually don't.
Wow. Well, it's a lot of story. It's a lot of life. Story is life. I remember one gentleman, Codell, Herb Codell, was the accountant for the famous Madonnas and people of the world. And he wrote a poem, or he said it. Actually, a poem had written. It's the hyphen. The hyphen between when you're born and then when you pass. He was telling me that's your life. That hyphen. You got a big hyphen. And so it's a very interesting reality of our existence. There's so much that happens. Yeah. It happened to me personally. I'm interfaith, all faith minister. I'm Jewish, but I'm very, and I know the Hamptons. I got a place in Montauk. I'm going there. I did 6 and 7, maybe 7, 8 interviews today because I'm out. I'm done. I'm going to the Montauk, my place in the Manor, and I
Good.
don't want to. I'm taking the phone and throwing it in the ocean.
Oh, I like the Manor. That's that big building, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Beautiful building. Yeah.
I'll be there next. I'll be there probably Monday. So, and they let me play the piano. I'll send you
Oh,
something. Well,
I
so,
definitely.
so I'm a musician too. So, in any case, we have a lot of similarity. Practically every name that you mentioned, I have some kind of love. I'll say love for. Okay, and because they're thinkers that are, unfortunately, I'll say, out of the box, because I prefer that the box made them everyday mindset.
Yeah.
I think the healthier planet would occur, and because when you look at it in a spiritual way,
Yeah.
what the hell are you fighting over, man? You're
Oh,
fighting
yeah. Oh,
in
yeah.
outer space, where there's no boundaries. Those are fake little
Yep.
segregative scenarios, and
Yep.
let's
Yep.
just have a damn good time, so
Yeah.
whatever.
Well,
In
it's about
any case,
synchronicity and about oneness and
yeah, sure.
breaking down all those barriers. And the book ends because I'd actually, so I started, Sir John Templeton and I met Sir John Templeton in 1990 in a hotel in Virginia. And he and I became fast friends. I became really one of his close associates. And we were interested in setting up spiritual institutes all over the country to study things like gratitude and kindness and religion and health scientifically. So with Sir John, I'd started this institute, which you can see online, unlimitedloveinstitute.org. He'd written a book called Pure Unlimited Love. And he thought that God was an infinite mind behind the universe and also pure unlimited love. So he named the institute. I was sitting in my office at Case Western Med School in 2000. I got a fax from Sir John, who was down in Nassau, and it said, we got to start an institute to study the greatest experience a human being can have, the sense of perfect oneness in this love. And it transcends human nature. And it's a kind of invasion by something beyond ourselves. But that's where we have to go. We need to study that. So I faxed back, Sir John, what should we call it? He faxed back, Stephen, let's call it the Institute for Research on Unlimited Love. Now, I admit I did a double take because I'm doing a lot of Alzheimer's genetics. I write a lot of books about Alzheimer's and dementia and so forth. And I think, what are my friends going to think about this? It's a little over the top, even for me, but they were expecting it probably. So I faxed back, Sir John, maybe we should call the Institute for Creative Altruism, because altruism is a nice, dry, sciencey, acceptable term. And he faxed back, memorably, no, Stephen, I think unlimited love, up to $8.9 million. And I faxed back to Sir John that moment. Sir John, I love that language. It jumps right off the page. And he was correct, because he wanted me to connect science and spirituality. And love does that a lot better than altruism does, which is a kind of a much more secular concept. So we funded 100 studies at universities from Harvard to Stanford, all over the country. We got this whole field going, and my institute website got actually taken down by ISIS in the late summer of 2014, because I have a newsletter that went out through the Middle East, and it was questioning whether or not, in fact, the Sufi reading wasn't the better one for all of Islam, which is all about love and oneness. And so I came back from doing a talk, actually, at Peconico Hills, on Chagall, who as a 19-year-old had also had a blue angel dream. You can read it in his memoir called My Life. And my advisor from Lahore, Pakistan, Duray Ahmad, said the website's been taken down. And there it was, the ISIS flag, and it's at Team DZ. So I actually called the FBI, and I tried to figure out how to respond to this. So I went to all my board members out in Chagrin Falls, Ohio, and Cleveland, because that's where we started the Institute. And we said, let's have really creative moment. So we started an international essay contest, and we had 2,000 young people from all over the world submitting these beautiful essays about how they personally push back against pressure, peer pressure, to hate other people just because they didn't share their beliefs. We had it we had it assessed. We had 10 winners, and we had money to do a gathering at the UN. So we filled the United Nations headquarters in August of 2016, filled it with young people from all over, including this medical school, but all over the country and all over the world. And people performed their essays. They did skits around them. They did rap things around them. They did them poetically. Went on for about 3 hours. It was piped out to 80 million people through the UN system. And that's how it ends, because the point of the story is that, I never planned anything in my life. I'm like totally responsive to the world around me. That's what a journey is like. You're responding to people you encounter who are, it's all completely unanticipated, but somehow you respond creatively, and that's how it's worked.
I love it. I love that's really, wow, because you're my kind of guy. I'm a similar, and some people question my stream of consciousness life.
Yeah.
But I'm, what do you got there?
I got this by email from His Holiness the Dalai Lama, August 1st. And what he says here is that he really loves God and Love on Route 80, The Hidden Mystery of Human Connectedness, and he wants it to be the most influential book of its time.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, he says it's about consciousness, interconnectedness, and not just in the physical sense. I mean, obviously, someone gets a virus in China or someplace else, and it can affect us. I mean, we're all physically connected in ways that we don't quite understand. But this is really about the notion of one mind, what Larry Dossey calls being able to notice the connectivities, the moments of synchronicity where everything is so perfect, so fine-tuned that it's just not attributable to chance.
I love it. I love it. I'm going to ask you, boy, we're going to talk again. I'm going to get your info,
Okay.
and we're going to talk some further because we have a lot of things in common. I'm a Tarrytown boy. I've been in the Mechanical Hills Church, and I grew up in that area.
Oh,
So,
you did?
yeah.
Okay.
So I know Mark Chagall's windows in
Oh, yeah.
Rockefeller's Church.
You got to read about him. And there's a lot about Chagall.
Yeah, good.
I
He's
mean,
in the Metropolitan
my
and
favorite, I
Lincoln
mean,
Center too.
that guy, I mean, it's amazing. He was he was raised in a Jewish community in a small city in Russia. He was 19.
Right.
His dad wanted him to take over the pickling factory, and he ran away. And he ran away to Leningrad, to St. Petersburg. And he's in St. Petersburg, and after a couple of months, he's been sketching things on the streets, and he hasn't done painting yet, but he's in the alleyway. He describes this himself in his book My Life, which he wrote about 15 years later. And he's in the alley, and he's sleeping on a mattress with some big old construction guy who's also homeless. And it was so anti-Semitic that he was constantly getting thrown into jail, and because they recognized him facially for his Jewish descent. And so he's there, and suddenly he sees, he's not sure if he's awake or not, but he sees the whole alleyway filled with blue. And then this blue angel descends upon him, and then he feels very peaceful, and it ascends, leaving blue behind. And the next day, he started painting, and the first thing he painted was his painting The Apparition, which is of a white angel against a blue background. And when he died in his studio outside of Paris, he was, believe it or not, painting a blue angel. So that's why those Chagall windows in that Mechanical Hills Union Church are full of blue. And he said blue is the color of love.
You know what also is in that church?
Yeah.
The Matisse's work.
The Matisse up front. Yeah, it's great. But the prophets, the windows of the prophets, that's like the only place you can sit and literally rub elbows with Chagall's greatest work.
And their art museum over there too. My friend Cindy Bronson, one of my high school, schoolmates, she ran the Kaikuit, if I say it right. Their art museum. Yeah, beautiful thing. So we got to put a closure on this. I was supposed to do the International Day of Conscience, which is another UN day on April 5th.
Good.
I did a show about it and I was on it. I just did a show about International Day of Tolerance, was just last week, the International Days of Happiness. And I'm very involved with the International Day of Peace, World Peace Day, September 21st, for almost 20 years. And with a concert, I'm former CBS, PBS. I'm a TV producer and event producer. So, and I've had a lot of stuff. Like you, and I went to Jesuit school and I grew up next to Marymount College. So, so we have similar certain things that I love about life. And so I ask a lot of people, because the International Day of Peace, I ask what is peace for them. But let me just ask you, because I got to run on to another interview. So, Dr. Post, what is peace? What makes peace for you?
Peace for me is centering my consciousness and my awareness on the being within, that place within us where we have this connectedness with an infinite mind, with an energy of pure unlimited love. That's why we meditate and we pray. That brings peace, because the world around us is chaotic and we're constantly bombarded by craziness. And you need to have an internal life and then set about the day committed to bringing that inner peace to the outer world. So that's what I do every morning, 5 o'clock, since I was a young kid. Since I was 15, actually, since that dream, I've meditated and I've purposefully said, I'm in this medical school, I'm going to encounter these 15 or so people today. I actually keep my schedule in a book, not online, so I have somatic memory, And I know that some people need some compassion, some people need some carefrontation, some people need some help with creativity, some people need some forgiveness, some loyalty. And I think to myself, what manifestation of love can I bring into their life? And that's how I live my life every day with my family, with the people here. And I've been that way for a long time, and it works. And I wrote a book called Why Good Things Happen to Good People with Jill Nymark, with Random House some years ago. And it's all about these expressions of love, because love's kind of abstract and people don't know if it's love of chocolate or just iron games, but this is a way of living that works peacefully for me. And peace is something we have to decide to bring into our world right here, right now, every one of us. And when we all do that and it all overlaps, then we have peace in the world.
All right, Dr. Post, I'm on your page. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you.
I enjoyed this immensely, this conversation.
Okay, if you're popping by Stony Brook, give me a call.
I will do that.